Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Me and my gong and my San Guillermo t shirt from the Philippines. Maybe the home of the next Pope. Welcome to my takeout, my Emil Amok's takeout, my takes on all things considerable. That's what we do. This is a talk show along the lines of your traditional talk show or news talk in the Rush Limbaugh side, but from the other side. I mean, I suppose he is the master of the form. I mean, that's when I was in talk radio in San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Sacramento. Rush Limbaugh was the guy. And it's different, though, when he was not in power or when the Republicans or when his ideology and viewpoints weren't in power. I mean, they were, but not to the degree that it is now. And now it's like we have some things to be scared about in terms of our country. I mean, before you'd say, okay, yeah, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, Republicans, but now they're really different. They're really different, and you can see how far the Republicans who back Trump want to go with changing our country. I mean, it's significant, and one of those things is just in the Ukraine story and the whole thing about brokering peace. Now, I have no doubts that Donald Trump wants peace, especially since he promised it, right? Day one, we'll have people. We never had to have this war in the first place. If I was president, right? So he really wants peace, but I think he's really crossed the line here with Ukraine, especially with, he's got Marco Rubio coming back from talks. He's got the vice president there talking for him and from India saying, look, we'll walk away from Ukraine. You've got his real estate guy meeting with Putin, showing really where the bias is. But I think the thing that got me today was how Donald Trump puts out a message on social media to Putin. It was like a jilted lover putting out a message out to a boyfriend saying, "Stop it, Vladimir, stop it." I mean, this is after the attacks on Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. There was Trump putting out on social media, "I'm not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary. Very bad timing. Vladimir, stop it. Stop it, Vladimir. Stop it." I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw that, when they were flashing breaking news in a rare criticism of Putin, if you can call it that. It was really kind of like lovers' quarrel. "Vladimir, stop it. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done." Well, let's get the peace deal done if it were a peace deal. But it really is, and we've been saying this for the last month or so since they started talking about getting together. It's a surrender. I mean, it's not a peace deal. I mean, if it were a peace deal, yeah, let's get this peace deal done, in the words of the president. But in this tweet, "Vladimir, stop. Stop, Vladimir, stop. Don't you know, Vladimir, no means no? God, Vladimir, stop it, Vladimir." But, this, you gotta see this for what it is. I mean, this lover's note is what it is. Trump is a dupe, right? We knew it, right? But yesterday's The Atlantic, Tom Nichols writes a column. If you haven't read it, it spells it out. Trump's plan to sell out Ukraine to Russia. His proposal to end the war isn't a peace plan. It's a reward for aggression. And I read that, this morning, And I thought, God, Nichols really has encapsulated what's really going on. And if you haven't gotten to it, you should read it. I'll read some of it here. Donald Trump said on the campaign trail that he would make peace between Ukraine and Russia in a day. 3 months later, he's behind schedule. And his plan now is to end the fighting quickly by selling out Ukraine and its people to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The proposal that Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio are pushing is not a framework for peace, but a rich and bloody reward to Moscow for 3 years of aggression and war crimes. That's the lead paragraph. That says it all. Vance was in India yesterday. He had a few choice words, or actually he was trying to be respectful about the Pope. But then when it came to this so-called peace plan, he was all like, look, we're willing to walk away. Marco Rubio did walk away from talks. The real estate guy of Trump, special envoy, he's meeting with Putin, or met with Putin for whatever reason. Just the guy looks like a buffoon. Witkin, I guess. I mean, all the guys that, who are Trump's seconds, they just, the world is laughing at our country, and it's not a comedy, right? This is real stuff. But when Tom Nichols in the Atlantic writes and says, this isn't a framework for peace, but a rich and bloody reward to Moscow for 3 years of aggression and war crimes. Well, that's exactly it. And then today, you knew you would get something, a message back from Russia about this deal. They started bombing Kyiv. And not like the war zone part, where the soldiers, they started bombing where the civilians are. Second graph of that Tom Nichols column. The Russians might do some performative cavilling, but the Americans are offering Putin a dream of a deal. If Trump has his way, Washington will lift sanctions against Russia. Both sides will accept a ceasefire in place, leaving Russian troops on newly conquered Ukrainian territory, and the United States will agree to recognize Crimea as part of Russia, leaving the Kremlin with full ownership of previously conquered territory. Now, this is a real reversal from the United States position under Trump the first time. Remember when that first, the first Trump term, we weren't going to go and give away Crimea to Russia. Crimea was taken, was conquered unfairly by Russia. And now, complete reverse. Total flip. I mean, Zelensky, he mentioned it yesterday in some tweets that he put out. But if you see what this peace deal is about, just everything to Russia, back to Nichols' column. For this, Ukraine gets basically nothing except a vaporous security guarantee from an American president who has made clear his hostility to Ukraine and its leaders, an animus that became especially clear when Trump and Vance ambushed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a White House meeting last month. Oh, you remember that meeting. How can we forget that meeting? It is really a hallmark reversal of the first 100 days. I mean, everything in the first 100 days is a reversal after reversal, or as I like to say, everything's flipped. Some other people like to say, oh, it's a whoop situation or oops situation. But it really is a flipping of everything from what we know to what is from Trump's perspective. And now we have this thing called a peace plan, which is not a peace plan. As Nichols says, it is an instrument of surrender, and the Ukrainians are unlikely to accept it. Nichols' third graph. Trump's proposal would functionally destroy Ukraine, which would limp away from the deal as a vulnerable rump state shorn of some 20% of its territory and millions of its citizens. Think about that. Trump doing the bidding of Putin as peacemaker, functionally destroying Ukraine. It would seek control over its foreign policy by promising never to join NATO, which is kind of the point of, Ukrainian aggression, or Ukrainians standing up to the aggression, because if the United States, right, isn't going to back it, well, then NATO would. But now they're promising never to join NATO in exchange for this deal. It's an ironic Russian demand, given how starkly Putin's invasion has reminded the world why alliances such as NATO must continue to exist. But NATO membership is a distant issue compared with the immediate problem. If Kyiv agrees to Trump's proposal, whatever is left of the Ukrainian state will soon be an easy target for the Kremlin. Once the Russian economy recovers and Russian forces catch their breath, Putin will finish the job of conquering Ukraine with even greater vengeance and violence. Time and space are on Moscow's side, and Trump intends to give Putin plenty of both. So this is the push that the Americans are giving Russia in this so-called peace deal. And it saddens me, because I remember the very first days of the Ukrainian the Ukrainian invasion, right? This is not a war. It's an invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I remember the very first day. I'm standing here in my mini cast closet thinking, I hope this is quick. Everyone was speculating, will this be quick? Will this be over? Who's going to fall first? Who's going to help Ukraine? The United States was there to help Ukraine ultimately. And then now, once the election happened last November, we knew we would get to this day. Here it is. Donald Trump's peace plan. And America, right? Land of the free, home of the brave. What kind of an example are we setting? We're setting the example of not much of an example. Donald Trump puts out his surrender plan / peace plan. Russia bombs Kyiv. And Donald Trump, in his most forceful social media message, says, I'm not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary. Very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. It's funny, but it would be funny if it weren't so tragic and so funny. These are the world leaders. Vladimir, stop. Let's get the peace deal done. And I point this out because if you're not paying attention, you're saying, oh, yeah, we got enough problems of our own. That's what they want to make you feel. And maybe you're not paying attention to what's going on. The bombing of Kyiv by the Russians, and how the United States urging peace, the irony of urging peace, getting this happening to Ukraine. And Ukraine says, no, we don't want this peace deal. They're going to reject the peace deal. But then, Trump's response, yeah, you reject this and you wait 3 years later when you're going to have no country at all. That's how you know this is an unfair deal. And I just don't know where Europe's got to step up. All eyes now look to who is going to be the world leader, who is going to be the moral leader of the world. I'm not talking about America or about the world's cop. We need something more than just the world's cop. We need a moral leader. Who's going to be the moral leader of the world? And we are sliding into this autocratic sense of what we are, the United States of autocracy. And I don't like it. I don't like the feel of this. You know, people are looking up to us like, oh, America's this way now? And then this is Ukraine. And the other big issue, of course, are the tariffs. And we're getting a lot of mixed signals about, oh, well, Trump's going to deal with China. Oh, yeah, we're talking with China. China puts out a message saying, we haven't been talking to the United States. What are you talking about? So we're being lied to. Nothing's being done. 145% tariffs, here we come. The economy's tanking. Everyone's saying, oh, the economy's tanking. The capitalists, the rich, the billionaire class is now saying, we're warning Trump that we're going to get empty shells if he doesn't do something. And then Trump tried to soften a bit. That's why we've seen a little green in the stock market the last couple days, a little green. But then the reality is he's done nothing substantive that will change the idea that tariffs are coming. Meantime, the billionaire class is saying, hey, they're destroying the U.S. brand. The U.S. brand that, world leader, moral leader, leader in capitalism, free enterprise, freedom in terms of money. Everything's safe in America. You can invest in America. You can buy our bonds. You can you can buy the stock market. But now because of this global trade war and because Trump is in charge and how? Based on his whim? America, if it hasn't sunk in yet, we're in trouble. And we need something done. We need to make sure that the judges hold up and everything that Trump wants to do illegally, an overreach on the part of the executive branch, is rejected by the courts, and that the courts uphold our democracy, our constitutional democracy. And then we have to hope that people wake up and just look and see what is happening to our country under Trump. And then maybe things change. I don't know what the answer is. It looks like this artificial marker of the first 100 days is over in a few days, but nothing will change unless the message gets to Trump that he has to somehow moderate his stances, that he can't go full on Project 2025, but that he has to listen to some people because there will be consequences somewhere. Next election, midterms. But he's already attacking the polls that say, oh, no one likes what he's doing. His disapproval rating has gone up. His approval rating has gone down. No one likes what he's doing on the economy. He's tanking us. And the only one cheering? Russia. And even China to a bit. I mean, although China is seen as our enemy now, I mean, more so than Russia. Russia is an equal enemy. They've got bombs pointing at us. But for some reason, Trump, Putin, that bond, and it's like Trump is willing to sell out the United States on behalf of creating his view of the way superpower should be. It should just be the top people, the top leaders, all together, doing their thing. So it's really kind of incredible here. I hope we're all awake and paying attention. Read Tom Nichols' column if you say, "Oh, I haven't really been paying attention to Ukraine. I don't know why this is important." Well, if you read that Atlantic column that I read from, it'll sink in. It'll sink in about the Ukrainian question, and just follow the news. I mean, I was reading Tom Friedman the other day in the New York Times, and he says, I'm careful about how to describe myself. I call myself a Waymo Democrat. Waymo, it's the the driverless car that they have in San Francisco, LA. I think they're in Phoenix. They have in some markets they want to expand. I have not been in a Waymo. I've driven past a Waymo. Some of my friends have. I haven't gotten the I don't know if it's courage you need to go in Waymo, but I don't like the idea of Waymo. I want to have my hands on the wheel, or I like my Uber and my Lyft drivers, usually Lyft, not Uber, when I'm in a town, or I like to talk to the taxi drivers. But Waymo Democrat, that's kind of like the world we're in. I mean, Friedman kind of captured. It's technology. It's the extrication of the human being. It's that kind of world. And things work, right? When things work, it's great. And when the Waymo car crashes into a hydrant or something goes wrong, not so good. But I think Waymo democracy, or to be a Waymo Democrat, that is like, I can be there without being there, or I can be there without relying on humanness, which clever concept. But if you think it through, if you really think it through, I don't like that idea. I kind of would like to see the humans more involved as opposed to less involved, wouldn't you? I mean, that's just the way I see it. Anyway, so you follow on these two issues, Ukraine and the tariffs, and how America has seen. The tariffs aren't here yet, but they will be. And you'll notice when the store shelves are empty and when the cheap Chinese goods are imitating the expensive Chinese goods. When I say the expensive Chinese goods, I mean that there are expensive goods that get manufactured in China. They'll get the 145% tariff charged, passed on to the consumer. And so everything will get bumped up. The cheap stuff will get bumped up. The expensive stuff will get bumped up. Life will be very expensive. And unless they can carve out exceptions to people who pay the price to whom? Donald Trump? Hey, that sounds corrupt, doesn't it? Oh, they gloss it over so it's not corrupt. But that's kind of the way it works, right? Someone pays a tariff, and the guy with the most cash at the dock slips something into a palm of someone's hand, and all the costs are passed on and borne by the consumer. I mean, that's where it's headed. It's not America, first world. No, we have now third world tendencies, and we are like the third world. I've always said this to my readers in the Philippines, that the United States is becoming more like the Philippines every day. And with an autocratic leader, it is really, it's like Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Again. Like it. Similar. The dictatorship part. Although American dictatorship, some vestiges of democracy maintained. But freedom of speech, iffy, maybe. I just look at all the constitutional questions being brought up currently between the Abrego Garcia case, the Harvard case, the election law case, the birthright citizenship case. I mean, there are so many things. So many things. All right, so Francis's funeral Saturday. I wonder how Trump is going to do the funeral. He says he's going to go. He's going to go to Italy. I mean, there's a handful of people who like him in Italy. Certainly the premier, the Italian premier. Is that who she is? She came within the last week or so. She loves Trump. She's out there kissing the ring. So maybe he'll combine visits or something. But actually I like Trump. I like funeral Trump. I like the Trump who went to Jimmy Carter's funeral. I like more of that Trump than this other whimsical Putin-esque Trump. So I was thinking about Francis's death, and so I wrote some Francis jokes and told them at the local open mic, because I love stand-up comedy, because stand-up comedy is an art form. But yesterday I had my first heckler. I mean, I've had some heckles in the past, but mostly people who are trying to help you. You know, they think that they're part of the show, so they're trying to help, but they're not. I said something. I told her to shut up or something, and then I added a line. It just came out. If I were more relaxed, I would have been more attuned to the moment and would have said something that was even more biting. But, you know, it shut her up, but it didn't shut her down. And to my credit, when she had her turn up, I didn't heckle her. Although some people expected that, but yeah, I try to be a class act. But it was, I have to say, it was hard. It was hard to, and then later going home, I said, no, you let that go. It's an open mic. You're out there dealing with the crowd. One thing about open mics is the live audience is what you do it for, right? You have this relationship. Like, I'm recording this, or I'm doing it live, but there's no live audience. I know. Are you laughing at my jokes? Are you laughing at? Well, I'm not really telling many jokes, but are you engaged with what I'm saying? If it's a live audience, you are. But if you're attuned to laughs, you're looking for a connection every 3 or 4 seconds. You're looking at, are you connecting? Are we connecting? And live, when you're doing it recorded, that's one thing. But when you're live, that's what the laughs are for. You add a thing, a zinger, a tag, or a topper, so that people might laugh, and then you hold. Like I said, stand-up comic's an art form. Stand-up comedy, and I love doing it. So I do it, once, twice a week, 3 times, but all in service for what I'm going to do later on in the summer. I'm going to go to do some fringe festivals. Take my one-man show, go to a handful of fringe festivals. We'll see what happens. Looking forward to it. But so bits of my show I chunk out and I just do them in my 5-minute sets. But I'm before I head off to the fringes this summer, I'm gonna do one of the shows up here on the Zoom, or maybe, I'm saying Zoom in a generic way, like, calling something Kleenex or handkerchief, Kleenex, and it's not the brand, it's just the tissue. So, but do it online, or maybe do it Patreon, someplace, do it live. Should be fun. Anyway, my first heckler. I mean, when I do fringes, the first heckler I got at a fringe festival actually was like in 2016. And it was a woman who was sitting like in the front row, and she was doing like yoga poses. I mean, I know the seats are uncomfortable, but doing your yoga poses, I mean, was I not that interesting? I mean, she was contorting, and I thought I was going to help her. I should have like stopped the show and sat next to her and tried to mirror her. Say, yeah. Anyway, you learn a lot about live performance and about being in the same room. And the beauty about live performance is it's never the same. It's never the same. What is it? The phrase, never the same way twice. But that was a slogan for, I think, like TJ Maxx or something. Never the same store twice. It's always different. I mean, that's one of the things about live performance. Always the thing about stand-up. You know, you do your thing, and hopefully you're not just reciting your lines. How boring, right? I mean, because new audience, you're taking your jokes, you're trying to make them laugh, you're engaged, all different. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it an art form. Now, I have some buddies who are more improv oriented. That's kind of cool. It's a little different from, say, more of the Jerry Seinfeld, here's the jokes. But he's less improv oriented. He's more, I got the jokes. I know the way to do them. I've written them to death. I now memorize them. And now maybe in performance, you let them live a little bit. And then there are guys who just go up there and they actually write on their feet. They write when they're on stage, which is dangerous as hell because you're really relying on, here I am talking, setting up a joke, and then the punchline, and I'm dealing with the audience's reaction, like almost like pulling the material out from them, if that makes sense. And they'll respond. They'll let me know what's funny. That's another reason why you do open mics. They're going to tell me what's funny. And if it's not funny, I'm going to make a note of that. Say, I can't say that because that's not funny. Anyway, I share some of these experiences on the comedy trail. Usually I'll put it on my amok.com site to let you know where I am. But I somewhere in the Bay Area, and I definitely will put when I do something. So, for example, when I was at the Rogue Festival in Fresno, right? I'm not there anymore. I was there February, a couple months ago. Fun. Love Fresno. And the best thing about Fresno, it's far enough from LA, far enough from San Francisco, far enough from Sacramento, far enough from everything, so it can be who it wants to be. That describes Fresno. So let's see. My swipe. I got my swipe. All right, that's it. You really got to pay attention to Ukraine. I don't know what happens next, but what perked my ears was seeing that tweet from Trump saying, "Vladimir, stop it." It was like a teenage girl talking to her boyfriend. "Stop it, Vladimir. Stop it. Don't you know no means no? Stop it, Vladimir." That's when I said, I guess the world knows that we're tipping the scales to Russia. They get it. It's so transparent, right? We got to do something. We can't just let this so-called peace plan be an award for the aggression of Russia. This is when all good Americans have to stand up and send their notes to their Congress people, their members of Congress, and then somehow hightail it over to Veselka and order some potato pancakes and some borscht or something. Show some solidarity with the Ukrainians. That's what I do. All right, that's it for today. Francis's funeral. I think we're going to have. I'm going to invite my good Jesuit friend Daniel Phil Gonzalez to talk about the Pope tomorrow. If he's not heading his way to the Vatican. Oh, he wouldn't be going to the Vatican. He might watch Conclave for the 354th time, but I don't know if he'll go to the Vatican. Anyway, this podcast is all about love. Love for all of you out there. A little meditation goes a long way. Sometimes I'm less amok than I used to be because I allow things just to happen and say, well, that I'm not happy with anything that happens, but I accept what happens and then I deal with it, appropriately. I don't just, start being, knee jerk and responding. I try to not have any preference at all. And that way I'm almost as truthful to my journalistic instincts of not showing a bias. I mean, it's a kind of a meditative way. Have no preference, accept it all. And then you'll be in a better position, not responding out of anger, but responding from a higher level that might be more helpful. One hopes. And it's all about, in the end, it's all about love. For not the individual actors, but for all of mankind, for us to do the right thing for all of us, instead of for a few, which seems to be the way of a certain administration. Anyway, loving kindness. Sharon Salzberg. Oh, what a teacher. The loving kindness meditation. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.